The Arizona Cardinals have a chance to clinch the #1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday. The only problem for Arizona is that they'll have to beat the Seattle Seahawks and beat them with Ryan Lindley at quarterback to do it. Though the Cardinals have played so well at home this season, with wins there against San Francisco and Philadelphia, this seems like an almost impossible task. Given how much their offense struggled last week after losing quarterback Drew Stanton, suddenly the Seahawks look a lot like the team that won the Super Bowl last year, and they are still in play for home field advantage should they be the team to win out, and that starts Sunday in Arizona. Carolina Panthers head coach Ron Rivera isn't giving any hints about his quarterback situation for Sunday's game against Cleveland, but starter Cam Newton was back on the practice field this week, just a week after he suffered small fractures in his back in that really scary car accident. If Newton does indeed play, it sets up an intriguing matchup of two former Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. The Panthers could certainly use Newton back on the field as they continue to try to chase the New Orleans Saints for that NFC South title. But the quarterback we all are going to be talking about is Johnny Manziel in Cleveland, as the Browns are coming off that ugly 30-0 loss in Manziel's first start. They desperately need to see improvement out of Manziel this week. Though the Browns might be out of the AFC North race, it doesn't mean they don't have anything to play for, as they're trying to keep what was such a promising season from ending in a tailspin. Who would have thought a mid-December game between two teams with losing records could wind up being so compelling? Well, that is certainly the case on Sunday with the game between the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, thanks to their win on Monday night in Chicago, are in first place in the NFC South, and they can clinch it with a win over Atlanta along with the Carolina Panthers loss. But the Saints have hardly been impressive at home this season, and the Falcons won the first meeting between these two teams way back in September. A player to watch this week is going to be Falcons receiver Julio Jones, who didn't practice on Wednesday because of the hip injury he suffered last week. Jones is such an important part of the Falcons' offense, and Atlanta really wants to keep the Saints in the dark right now about whether or not he'll be able to play. There is more quarterback drama in Houston, with Texans head coach Bill O'Brien trying to keep the Baltimore Ravens guessing about who is going to play quarterback on Sunday. The Texans have already lost two quarterbacks this season, with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Mallett on injured reserve, and now rookie Tom Savage is banged up as well, leaving Houston to decide between Thad Lewis and Case Keenum as who's going to be their starting quarterback on Sunday. So here's a thought for O'Brien. Why don't you just let J.J. Watt play quarterback? He's already done everything else for the Texans season, and really, could he be any worse than the other options? The Dallas Cowboys got a much-needed boost last week by beating the Philadelphia Eagles, but they entered this week's game against the Colts with a couple huge injury questions in a game that they desperately need to win to maintain their lead in the NFC East. The biggest question, of course, is about running back DeMarco Murray, after the NFL's leading rusher had to undergo surgery on Monday to repair a broken bone in his left hand. The Cowboys are optimistic that Murray indeed will be able to play against the Colts while wearing a protective gear on his left hand, but the issue is how well he'll be able to protect the ball. He has already lost 5 fumbles this season, and that was with 2 healthy hands. The other injury, of course, to watch for the Cowboys is on the offensive line, with guard Zach Martin and tackle Doug Free both unable to practice earlier this week. The running game has been the strength of the Cowboys all season, and suddenly it's become their biggest question heading into such a big game against the Colts.